Hey swarmers, welcome back to the Hive. Today we're here with Lindsay Karlsen, founder of VALYOS, an eco-friendly marketplace of brands from around the world that focus on sustainability. On the VALYOS site, you can find fashion, homeware, and beauty items that are vegan, organic, fair trade, secondhand, vintage, antique, plastic-free, zero waste, artisan, and handmade, recycled or upcycled, and even made to order items, which is amazing. So thank you so much for being here, Lindsay. I can't wait to talk to you and learn more.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but there is a lot of things that come under the sustainability umbrella. So yeah,
Yeah,
probably even more than that.
I truly, yeah, I could have probably kept going, right?
Yeah.
So let's get officially started with, let's talk about you and your background and how you eventually got into sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I've always been into. So, I mean, growing up, I grew up in the suburbs and then moved into the city of Copenhagen. So I'm from Denmark, and I then moved on to the UK 12 years ago, and I never really had a strong connection to nature. Up until my now husband, he took me to his home country back in 2012. We went to South Africa, and he took me to Kruger National Park, and that just completely blew my mind. And like experiencing wildlife up close and just, yeah, just being in nature, it was just, yeah, it was such an amazing experience. I was learning a bit about like the issues around poaching and the human wildlife conflicts that they face. And I mean, I wanted to know more, and on the way home I picked up a book in the airport about this South African guy who's now passed away, but his name is Lawrence Anthony, and he wrote a book about the last rhinos, where he goes to Congo and tries to save some of the last northern white rhinos there. And I just felt like I need to do something. I mean, I mean, you hear about it on the news, and I didn't really pay attention to all the problems that were going on around the world. I mean, coming from a small country where you don't have that much wild nature. So it was, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener, and I came home and I wanted to do something more. So back then I started building my own website for, I wanted to spread out some information about endangered wildlife, and I wanted to make a directory of all the charities that supported the different animals. So I built up like a whole website at the time and spent a lot of energy on that. But yeah, again, life, having to make some money, living in London, it's not cheap. So I kind of just lost contact with it. But I just still wanted to do some more. I was doing a bit of charity work and things like that. Like wherever I felt like I could help out, I tried to as much as possible. But then in 2015, when I watched the True Cost movie on Netflix, I don't know if you watched that.
No, what's it called?
The True Cost on Netflix.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. You definitely need to see it.
Add that to my list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that just opened my eyes to like the issues that are around fast fashion in terms of pollution and how workers are treated, and it just just was a wake-up call in that sense, and also understanding that there's a lot of issues around consumerism. So that kind of opened that whole world up for me, and I wanted to do something within that range, but also still on the side of trying to support charities. So I set up my own apparel brand, which was organic apparel, and was running that for a bit. Again, issues with time and trying to get everything going while still working full time. And so that kind of went back on the back burner too, up until this year, where I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to try and give it a shot again with I had all the stock. I had a lot of t-shirts and bags and all sorts. I wanted to try and promote that again. But then I also felt like the really true sustainable product you can buy is secondhand. So I wanted to incorporate that into it. bought up stock, went to different markets and such. And then I felt like, I mean, who's really going to be looking at my little website? I mean, I might get a bit of traffic and I might get a few sales, but will that really make much of a difference? So I thought, well, let's try out on a platform. Looked into like the bigger platforms like Etsy and eBay that does a lot of secondhand, and I didn't really feel like that lived up to kind of what I wanted in terms of sustainability. Like I didn't just want to sell sustainable products, I also wanted to be sold in a ethical way. So I looked into ethical platforms, and I found there were a few issues with it in terms of the way that they market their products. So that just kind of led to creating values.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had this like chain of profound realizations that just launched you into action, and you were able to like marry all of this unearthing, you know, from your visit with your husband and nature and conservation and poaching and animals to consumerism to all around holistic sustainability. That's really amazing. Some people, you know, they watch those documentaries or they learn some things and they feel really bad, and then they don't really do much about it. So it's amazing that, I know you were saying, you know, you lost sight of some things along the way, but the fact that you were even, you know, compelled to do the things you did is incredible. And here we are with VALYOS, and I commend you. That's really, really great.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it is a journey, and it's still a journey. I'm still learning so much. There's so much in the world that can be changed, and hoping that just a little bit that I'm doing with this and getting all these different sellers, like really passionate people together, hopefully will make a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I'm certain that it is. You're learning and educating and providing a really awesome platform for all of us. Can I ask why VALYOS? What does the name mean to you?
So it is just a play on the word of values, and that is what I was looking for when I wanted to sell the products. I wanted to sell it in an ethical manner, in terms of like the whole sustainable living ethos or narrative is that you should buy less but buy better. And I don't think you can really promote that by handing out discounts left and right and pushing things on people to say, buy this now because this offer is going to run out in like 24 hours. And like, I mean, pushing people to buy things spontaneously, I don't feel like that adds up to that. I mean, then you can't really justify saying that, oh, you bought a sustainable product, but you bought maybe sustainably made products, but you bought 5 instead of 1 because there was an offer. That doesn't really,
Such a good point. Good point. It feels like duh, but you want to take advantage of a deal, and maybe that's actually not sustainable. You kind of touched on it, buy less and buy better, but what else does it mean to you to be an ethical marketplace all around?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of points. Obviously, the whole point is to promote sustainably made products, including secondhand. And I can never put it out enough, because that does get overlooked quite a lot, except for people who do sell secondhand, but everyone else just kind of overlooks it, it feels. And yeah, I mean, ethical marketing practices, as I just talked about, and also some of the values that we have on the that I want to put through the website, is that want it to be a very inclusive place of people of all abilities, of all ages, of all races, of all, I mean, wherever they live in the world. I mean, and I know that there's a lot of focus on people to buy things locally, which is great, but sometimes that's not an option, because it might not be produced there for whatever it is they need, and there might not be a sustainably made product, or an alternative for it. So I want the platform to be inclusive, in the sense that someone who lives in, I don't know, somewhere in Asia, for instance, can sell something to someone living in Europe or South America, or wherever. I mean, for right now, the focus is to tailor to cater for the UK market, but I would ideally want it to become like a worldwide platform, also to enable to promote local businesses in those countries where you can uplift communities by supporting these businesses directly, rather than buying from a retailer who buys up from local communities in certain countries, but they might be buying up a lot of product that there won't be any demand for. So they'll end up selling it at a discount, or it goes to waste and landfill, or wherever it burns, or however it gets so anyway, so to go back to inclusivity, it's also just to also cater for people that might live in areas that are a bit more rural. They might not have access to go to high street and buy all these different products. So it's yeah, inclusivity involves a lot of things. We also, well, one of the things that I've also is building out on the side is an area for unisex apparel, clothing, shoes, and whatnot. Simply because, like, I mean, there's certain things that I can wear, my husband wears. He often wears my clothes. I wear his clothes because it's, I mean.
Yeah, I do the same thing, definitely.
And I mean, there's not necessarily a need for it to be split into man, female. It could just be like, well, everyone can wear it. And I know that, I mean, certain people feel disenfranchised from going shopping online because there's only men, female, there's only pink and blue for girls and boys. Let's just make let's make it separately, where, well, if you feel like you want to wear this, well, then do it. That it doesn't, you don't have to feel bad because of like who you are, and you feel like you have to buy something because it says it's female or because it says it's male. So inclusivity in a lot of different areas. I mean, it's also, working together with brands, educating myself. Maybe I can educate them in certain ways. I've learned some things about plastic, for instance. I've learned that to begin with, I wanted the platform to be completely plastic free, and not encourage that whatsoever to contribute to the pollution that it creates by extracting it, or everything that's around fossil fuels.
Huge.
But I realized by speaking to different beauty brand owners that that's not necessarily possible to completely eliminate in beauty products because of health regulations or requirements. And I learned from that I needed to change my stance on that, because I would rather have a product that has been sourced sustainably and then can be sold in a plastic container, but the plastic container is refillable or is 100% recyclable. That's a better option than something that's not sourced sustainably and is not recyclable either or refillable. So I was learning on that. And then I've had other sellers where I've gotten them to agree to changing a few things when they can in their processes going forward. For silver, for instance, there is a thing on the market now called eco silver, but not everyone who creates jewelry uses this yet, and maybe because they're not aware that it's there, or they haven't found a way to properly use it for their uses, or for their needs. So what I've been talking to jewelry makers is that they would want to use that going forward. I've had a lot of different discussions with different brands where I can help them, they can help me, teach me different things, and it's been really great. So it's also about learning and working together, which is also what I think is really important on this platform, so that it can continue growing into being ethical. And sense.
We all have to uplift each other and support each other in this endeavor. We learn from each other, we build off of each other. I think that's so true. And I love this relationship you've highlighted between being ethical and being inclusive, because how could you be ethical without being inclusive? It's a really great point. And how that all relates to sustainability. If you're going to ultimately be ethical, that should be sustainable, and therefore you need to be inclusive to achieve that. And I think that's an amazing thing to highlight, especially in today's world.
yeah, there's no really excuses for it.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm so curious, how do you find your brands that you build these relationships with, and like, how do you do all that legwork to make sure that they are what they say they are and that they're not potentially practicing what's called greenwashing, right? Being a little disingenuous. How do you
Well,
handle
I mean, so most of it's been going through social media. I'm a member of a ton of groups on Facebook. I would recommend be part of groups on Facebook, be part of the conversations that are going on there, because there's so much that you can learn from it and so much you can give back in them as well. So I've connected with a lot of different brands through that, but also on Instagram, there's a lot of amazing small brands out there. And most of the sellers that I'm working with, they have they make the products themselves, and I mean they will be able to provide me with all the information that I require. I will always start out with, if I have a seller approaching me and they're interested in signing up, I will always start out with asking them to give me information about, like, how do they source the materials or the ingredients that they use, and then kind of take the conversation from there. So I don't have like a set format for it, but if they do have products where they say that it's like certified organic or it's fair trade certified, then I require that they provide me with documentation, because otherwise, I mean, anyone can say, oh, I used organic.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious about shipping in
Yeah.
terms of sustainability. Like, how does that work? How do you do that?
So I don't stock anything myself. Everything is on the seller side, simply because I don't think that's a sustainable way of managing it. Because again, if I do overstock and I end up with too much that doesn't get sold, well, how do I get rid of it? Do I lower the price or do I chuck it
Right.
away? You know, so yeah, the sellers, they ship themselves. But they also do, in the terms that I send them, the email that I send them, it is in there stated that they agree to using only eco-friendly packaging. So no plastic. And also one of the things that they agree to, if they are found to be in breach of anything in the terms, I can revoke them being on the platform. So
Yeah.
obviously I can't keep a track of what kind of packaging that they're using. That's impossible for me to monitor. But if I do have a customer that will approach me, that hasn't happened, but if that does happen in the future, I'll take that on board, and I'll look into, well, what is it actually that they're using to ship with.
So let's close out. We always like to ask if you had one sort of favorite tip for sustainability to offer our community, what might that be?
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's a journey, and no one can do anything perfectly and right all the time. Just do what you can, take small steps, don't try to do everything at once. And I mean, some days that you won't be able to do the things that you want, the way that you want to do it, but that's okay. Just pick up on it when you can. And then, I mean, any small change, if we're a lot of people that make just tiny small changes, it would show. And yeah, just don't give yourself a hard time about it and do the best you can.
Yeah, every effort counts. It really, really does. Thank you so much for joining us, Lindsay.